Hello, my name is Lydia Connor. I'm the summer nutrition intern at Gleaner's Food Bank, and today I will be making a homemade pizza and especially showing you how to make a homemade pizza crust. Homemade pizza crust can seem kind of intimidating, but it's actually really simple, and all the ingredients tend to be things that I would normally have on hand. So even if I didn't have a pizza crust in the freezer or like a frozen pizza in the freezer, I could whip together a pizza crust in pretty quick timing. So all you're gonna need are flour, sugar, salt, active yeast, and a bunch of toppings. But the first thing you're gonna do, especially with homemade pizza, is wash your hands because it's a very hands-on recipe with kneading, topping the pizza, everything like that. So if you're following along at home and actually making the pizza, wash your hands. And then you'll wanna preheat the oven to 375 degrees, and then you can go ahead and get started. So the first thing that you need to do is take a cup of flour, and I'm going to be using half wheat and half all-purpose. And if you're in Summer Nutrition Club, this is an awesome thing for you to help with because we practiced measuring flour in our lessons this summer. So you're going to take a cup of whole wheat flour, put it in your mixing bowl, and then you're going to take a tablespoon of sugar. And when I was testing this recipe, I actually realized that I didn't have any white sugar, so I was able to use brown sugar in the recipe and it worked out just fine. So it's a good substitution. It tasted really good. So and then you're going to use a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and a tablespoon of yeast, and then you're going to use 2/3 cup of lukewarm water and just kind of pour that over all these things. And then you're going to take your all-purpose flour and take another cup, and it doesn't have to be super perfect this time because you're going to just gradually add in a bit of flour, kind of shake it in, and then mix it around with your hands. So that's why you need really clean hands before you get started. But you want to keep mixing it until it becomes a dough-like consistency and it's not sticking to your hands anymore. So just keep on mixing, but try not to overmix. Just get it to a kind of a ball of flour or a ball of dough, and try to take pieces of dough off your hands if it's sticking and try to incorporate that back in. If you find that the dough is still sticking to your fingers, you can take a little bit more flour. This is still left over from what I have of my cup measured out. So I just add a little more at a time because you don't want to overdo it with flour because that'll dry it out a bit. But it'll also help so that your dough doesn't stick to your surface or your hands. So then I think we are good with that. I still have a little bit sticking to my hands, but the next thing you want to do is take the dough and knead it for about 2 to 3 minutes. So what I'd like to do with kneading dough is kind of fold it and press it together, and fold it and press it together, and then fold it in another direction and keep on going. And you want the dough not to really stick to you, so I'm actually adding a bit more flour because it is still sticking to me. And you can also put a little bit of flour on your surface as well if you find that it's sticking to your surface. And just keep on going. You want the dough to kind of be smooth looking and also kind of spring back. When you press it down, you want it to kind of spring back at you a little bit. Does anybody have any questions so far? It's pretty simple, and kids can help with kneading the dough and all the measurements. The one thing about kneading dough is you don't want to overdo it, so I would try to stick with just as much time as the recipe calls for, and once it's doing the spring back, then it's probably ready. So I think that this is just about ready actually. So I'm going to put it right back in this bowl to let it rise, but a trick that I've used before is just to put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of the bowl so that your dough doesn't stick to the bowl while it rises. And then I just like to spread it around with a pastry brush a little bit, and then throw it in there, and you kind of want to cover it with a cloth and let it rise in a warm place so you could put it in a sunny window. Today it's raining here, so there isn't really a sunny window, but you could also put it on the burner, the stovetop, on a really low heat and let it rise, and you're going to let it rise for about 15 minutes. You can let it go a bit longer if you'd like to, but it should about double in size. So I'm going to go put this on the burner. So then I actually have pizza dough that I've let rise already. It is about double in size, and it's been sitting back there for probably 20 minutes. So a little longer than the time that it was specified, but now it's light and fluffy and it's ready to be rolled out. So I'm going to add a little bit more flour to my surface to roll it out. And hopefully that will make it to not stick on the table. But it came straight out of the bowl because I used a little bit of olive oil in the bowl. So going to use my rolling pin, and if you don't have a rolling pin at home, you can also use any kind of bottle, kind of like olive oil has a smooth round shape, and so you can use that because it's a little bit heavier than, I don't know, another smaller bottle. So you kind of want to roll this out into, you could do a circle if you have a circular pizza pan, or you could do a baking sheet shape, so like a rectangle, but just try to roll it out as thinly as possible. Grandma says Pizza King Royal Feast is her favorite pizza. Yum, I knew that. Thank you for answering that question. Mom, what's your favorite pizza?
I really like that Giacomo's.
Giacomo's. Yes, it's good stuff. My favorite pizza is anything with as many colors of vegetables as possible. So that's what I like. So this is nice and thin now, and I'm gonna go ahead and prepare my baking sheet, my pizza pan I mean. So it's a circular baking sheet essentially, and I am just going to put a drop of olive oil in the middle and just a little bit, and use my pastry brush to try to spread it pretty evenly. Another trick that I've learned over the last couple of years of trying to make my own pizza is to use a little bit of cornmeal on the pan. After you put the olive oil on, you can sprinkle just like a teaspoon of cornmeal all around the pan, and the little granules help to kind of elevate the crust a little bit off the pan and give it a little bit of space so that it doesn't stick while it's baking. So carefully move your pizza dough to your pan. You can kind of stretch it out a little bit. I like to then take around the edges, kind of just roll it up around the edges to give it that nice thick crust, and it also gives it an edge to kind of contain your toppings. So maybe you'll have some sauce that's a little runny. This will help keep the sauce on the crust and not run off onto the pan. So just keep on rolling, and I kind of pinch it, press it in as I go. So that's what it looks like right now. And now it's actually time to start topping. So I am going to be using a tomato sauce today because we don't have any pizza sauce. So what you want to do with tomato sauce is I would mix it with some dried or fresh herbs if you have them. So I have this can of tomato sauce, and I have some parsley, and I'm gonna start out with about 1/4 teaspoon of each of them, each of my herbs, just to take it slow. So 1/4 teaspoon of parsley, and then I have Italian seasoning, so another 1/4 teaspoon. And Italian seasoning is a mixture of oregano, marjoram, thyme, rosemary, and sage. So that's a really good combination. It'll add a ton of flavor. And then the last thing I'm gonna add is basil. It's a classic marinara sauce spice. So if you have a marinara sauce that is like a pasta sauce or something like that, it normally already has basil, oregano, stuff like that added to it. So you wouldn't really have to add the spices to it, but it really just depends on what you have. Maybe you have some produce that you need to use up. You can make a puree in the blender and then spread that on your pasta or your pizza crust just like a sauce. So I think 1/4 teaspoon of each will probably be fine, but you can kind of experiment and taste it before you spread it on. One thing you need to consider is that you'll probably have quite a bit of flavor from the toppings, so the pizza sauce isn't probably going to be the most important thing, but it is important to me too. So I'm just going to go ahead and start spreading this on my crust. And I like to use the back of my spoon to spread it out because it kind of gives a nice, helps me spread it out evenly and not to get it too thick. So I like to just go all the way up to where the crust was rolled over. Hey Mom, could you please grab the Italian cheese or the pizza blend cheese out of the fridge, please? And so I'm just gonna take a bunch of sauce and go all the way around. Honestly, this amount of sauce would probably work for another pizza, so it's a good thing we have another pizza dough rising right now. But then you can go ahead and take some cheese. I like to use shredded cheese. I just think it's really easy to sprinkle all over your pizza. So this one is a pizza blend, so it has mozzarella, provolone, other cheeses in it, so it's a good variety. And I just like to sprinkle a lot of cheese on. My family loves cheese, so you kind of just do what you like and what seems like a good idea. Anywhere from like a cup to a cup and a half is probably sufficient. But I like to do a little bit on the bottom, or like with the sauce, and then I like to use some of my colorful veggie toppings. So I have pretty much a lot of colors of veggies. I have these red tomatoes. These are from the garden if you're from Summer Nutrition Club. I have these Kalamata olives, red onion, mushrooms, and green pepper. It's actually our first green pepper out of the garden. It wasn't quite ready, so we'll hopefully it'll taste okay. But so you can really choose what toppings you want to put on your pizza because it's so personal. Like, everybody likes different things. But for me, I love all kinds of veggies, and I try to get something that's pretty much all the colors of the rainbow. So you could probably tell by what I have here. And I just try to evenly distribute all my toppings because I want a little bit of everything in each bite. So what is your favorite topping for pizza, Mauricio? My favorite topping would probably be mushrooms. I think they provide such good flavor and some juice, especially when they're baked in the oven. I know Mauricio really likes pineapple on his pizza. Who likes pineapple on their pizza? If you like pineapple, raise your hand or comment and say you do. Some people are very against pineapple on pizza, but I think it's really good. So, I almost forgot to do the green pepper. So this is the last topping that I have, but there are tons of other options. You can add protein to your pizza, like pepperoni, chicken, sausage, salami, whatever you like. It really doesn't matter.
Jokes.
Mauricio likes ham and pineapple. My grandma does not like pineapple. But my mom had the idea of adding artichokes to pizza, which sounds really yummy. Do you want to get those out? Last minute addition to the pizza. And that's what's so fun is, like, if you can think that it sounds good on the pizza, it probably will. Pizza can be such a crowd pleaser, and you really can not go wrong with pizza. So I'm gonna add some artichokes because they sounded good to my mom and to me. So I like to just kind of tear these apart. These are canned artichokes, and you can just kind of layer a few of them all around the pizza, and that should add some extra flavor. Who likes artichokes? Sarah likes fresh basil and mozzarella. Oh, yum, that sounds so good. And then the last thing I'm gonna add is just a sprinkle of Parmesan cheese. You can also wait to do this once your pizza comes out of the oven, but I mean, the more cheese, the better in my opinion. So, yeah, just whatever floats your boat. My mom's gesturing for me to put more on, which I'll put more on afterward probably. Grandma loves artichokes. Okay, so the last thing to do really would be to just put this in the oven. So like I said, the oven is preheated at 375 degrees, and it's just gonna go in the oven on this kind of pan for about 15 minutes. But if you use a pizza stone, that'll actually cause an increase of baking time because that thing takes a little bit longer to heat up. And if you're using both, I would recommend putting the pizza stone on the upper rack. I'd keep both of them kind of in the middle, but if it's closer to the top, it'll cook a little faster. So that'll help you get a more even bake on your pizza. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the oven and I will open it up for some questions. Mom's gonna do it. Oh, close up. Yes. Let's see. There is the pizza. It's kind of dark, but here it is. It's gonna go in the oven. And be very careful if you're putting the pizza in the oven. Obviously, it's really hot. Have an adult help you. And it's gonna go in there for 15 minutes. So we're setting a timer for 15 minutes. And then, so that'll just run. And let's check on this other pizza dough. Ooh, it has risen as well. Nice and fluffy. Comment what you think we should put on this second pizza. I probably won't show you today, but we're obviously gonna not let this go to waste, so what should we do? Okay, so what other sauces would you recommend if people don't like tomatoes? Some other sauces, you could use a pesto sauce or olive oil or an Alfredo sauce. Can you think of another one?
Vinaigrette.
A vinaigrette. Yep. That's a good question. Grandma thinks we should put spinach and black olives on.
What about that balsamic?
A balsamic
Reduced balsamic.
reduction. Barbecue sauce. Okay, so the crowd is choosing our second pizza. Barbecue sauce from Mauricio. That's a good one I forgot about. Barbecue sauce, spinach, black olives. Salami. We have some salami. Okay. Well, I think that is gonna wrap it up. I will post a picture of the final product after this video so you guys can see how it turns out. One thing I want to add is that when you're looking at the pizza, trying to determine if it's done or not, you want to make sure that the cheese is melted all the way and the crust should start becoming kind of like a golden brown around the edges. And then you should be good. But yeah, so be really careful dealing with the oven and have fun. Don't take it too seriously. Like I said, pizza is a crowd pleaser and you can let the kids choose the toppings and you can even do mini pizzas and everybody could top their own if you wanted to. You would just have to try to cut the recipe in half and divide it into smaller sections of dough. But yeah, so let me know if you guys end up trying the pizza at home, and if you send in pictures or post them on our page, we would love to see them and we will have so much fun seeing that. So I hope you guys enjoyed and have a great day.